I run my tongue along the staples lining the roof of my mouth. I wince and think, this isn't going to work. The next day, I phone the doctor and she comes to my house to see what the problem is. I tell her it's a metallic taste. It's doing my nut in. Are you rubbing your tongue on them? Of course. Then stop. She leaves without saying much else, does a check of the staples to see if the wound is healing. Everything is fine as far as her professional opinion. I spent the night plucking at the staples with my tongue and spitting blood into a bucket. The next morning, I phone the doctor and tell her I've started spitting up blood. She comes to my house and takes another look at the wound. Have you been poking them with your tongue? Of course. Then stop. She leaves without saying much else. I spent the day touching the roof of my mouth and wiggling the staples with my finger until the metal starts scraping somewhere else behind my nose. The next morning, I phone the doctor and tell her the staples have all started coming loose. She comes to my house and thumps new ones into place. I asked her if they'll have the same metallic taste as the last ones, and she tells me not to play with them. I spent the night licking the roof of my mouth and pushing my tongue into the wound. I creep my fingers up inside and wiggle the staple back and forth until they pop out onto my tongue. I spit them all into the sink and hear them clink and go to bed. The next morning, I phone the doctor and tell her the staples have fallen out. The wound has opened again, but she can't understand a word, so she hangs up the phone. I spent the night rooting around inside the wound until I see sparkling lights behind my eyeballs and my limbs began to twitch. The next morning, I phone the doctor and tell her the wound is far too wide to eat. Crisps are getting stuck inside of it now, and now all I can taste is a tang of vinegar and the salt of the blood and the cheese of the pus. She can't understand me and asks if I'm having a stroke because it's all just a series of slurring and creaks. Her attitude flips when I begin to moan and breathe heavy from the pain. She gasps and sounds offended, calls me a pervert and slams down the phone. I see senses of blackened pots calling kettles by their own name. I spent the night drooling red and yellow threads of saliva into the bathroom sink. I watch myself in the mirror, twisting a finger into the roof of my mouth as the knuckle disappears. Along with the kettles and pots, I push through bruised meat until I feel something spongy. But then I press against certain bumps and between certain slimy folds, and now I see flashes of memory I thought I'd hidden. Of biting cheeks and picking scabs, of cigarette burns and angry dads, of blinking hard and clenching jaws, of roaming hands and gentle shushes. A mother's caress should never last that long. I am filled with an overwhelming surge of bliss, and now a mess of muddied hate. The next morning, the doctor phones me, but she hangs up immediately when she hears me trying to explain my opinions with all of my groaning and clicking. I think she was wrong to have done so much and to have left me with so little. And I know she shouldn't have stapled the wounds, because I've discovered something wonderful about it being open and pliable. I spent the evening ignoring the knocking on the door and the shouting of the police, claiming they're trying to perform a wellness check on me. They don't understand that everything is absolutely fine and well. The only thing of any concern is that I haven't gotten a long enough finger to reach the unprobed corners of my brain. Oh, how they long to be stroked. I spent the night dipping in and out of consciousness instead of sleeping, because the blood is mostly gone, and now there's only pus for me to taste. And it tastes so wretchedly rotten that I think I actually prefer the taste of the staples. The next morning, I weave dizzy pathways to the garden, after failing 3 times trying to get there. I find a jagged branch and strip it bare of all its hair and skin, but I don't know if I have enough strength in my leg to make it back inside. So I lay there in the snow and thread the stick between my gnashing jaws, up inside the wound, around the opposing ridges of bone behind my nose, until I feel a familiar comfort of spongy resistance and twitch myself to sleep. At last, fresh feels. When I awake, I am more careful this time. I thread another sharp branch between what I feel is a cavity between the two hemispheres of my brain. And when it feels as though it will not go a fraction further, I push a little harder, turn my palm to face the stick, and give it a little thump. It snaps through that stubborn rubber, and the top of my skull gives a knock from where it stops. And that's about enough as I can take. I vomit against my hand and pass out in the snow with the smell of my success. I spent the night crawling around the garden, rooting out better sticks within the dark. But my left hand keeps insisting on slapping them all away. And because I drop a dozen worthy ones, I'm forced to snatch them quick and stick them up inside my face before the hand can have its way. But me and my right hand have been conspiring, and here's what we plan to do. We lie on the left hand until we're certain she's asleep, and we stumble our way to the tool shed and grab the hatchet from the bench, and we hack that traitorous bastard away with a couple of swings and a few good smacks. And we take the knob and we take the arm, and we tell them both to fall in line, unless they want the same treatment as the hand, because we will do it with so much as batting an eye, or so much as the flicking of a finger. The next morning, we barely make it back inside the house when the front door is bashed off its hinges. I feel it vibrating in my sticks and wince against the pain. There are police and medical staff rushing about, looking for me in every room. I leap up onto my feet on who knows what reserves, and I get ready to defend myself with the hatchet in my right hand. My stubby left shoulder waves feebly for help, while left leg tries dragging me closer to the policemen and the medical staff. But right leg is trying to pull us further away, and we're also equally and incredibly feeble that we get absolutely nowhere fast and collapse back onto the ground where we started. Now they notice me. They gawk at me and frown at me as if I'm something new. I know they are here to remove the sticks that I've stopped up inside the roof of my mouth, so right hand launches at them with the hatchet, while I scream at them from around the bundle of my branches with my lips wide open. I try explaining calmly through all of my body froth that if they try and touch me, I will do exactly what I did to left hand and left arm to every one of those treacherous motherfuckers, to each of their faces and head. Now the branches are wet with my saliva. Since I seem to be in need of assistance, a policeman steps towards me to lend a hand. Behind him, I see Dr. Mom telling me things she thinks I want to hear, but all I hear coming from her cancerous mouth is treasonous disbelief. About the progress I've been making, about how bad she believes things are, and her hands trying to shush me down to a calm, held out like blind mice in a darkened bedroom. I dare them to find me this time. I'm older now and ready. I squeeze the hatchet handle and launch it through the air. It strikes her square in the forehead and drops her flat on her ass. I try to laugh but crack a branch instead. The policeman draws his gun, and when he points it at my head, I point directly at the spot I haven't had a chance to reach yet. I ask him, "Would you be so kind?" And when the bullet strikes me there, I feel a rushing blast of air cold inside my mind, until the blood pools and warms me right back up, and I thank him for his service, but all he hears are snaps and bubbles. They have me now in bindings in a silent hospital room. They've given me a bed of my very own with people who come and go. They take me for scans and they take me for talks. They want nothing more to learn from me. These are the real doctors. These are the ones who listen. Instead of sticks, they thread these exceptionally long needles up inside my brain to try and figure out how exactly I became the way I am. But for that, they'd need to dig her up and ask her. But for now, I am in my element, and it feels like heaven.